Right, we're going to do a walk starting from this famous landmark on Dartmoor here. That's the Warren House Inn, which is a well-known pub and stopping off place on this road. It's called Warren House because this area down here is known as the Warren, and that's an area of old tin mining there. And we're going to walk off in that direction over there. That ridge is Hameldon Ridge, it's a big granite ridge on Dartmoor. Fantastic views from the top of it. In the cleft is Grimspound, which is a Bronze Age settlement. About 24 houses in it. Quite a well preserved and remarkable Bronze Age settlement remains of, and the ridge itself has got a number of barrows and Bronze Age and medieval remnants, and somewhere a couple of miles down this path, maybe less than that, off on the right, there's a stone row called Chalacombe Stone Row that we're going to visit as well. So we should have a good day out, nice autumnal sunny day. See what we can find. So this valley we're just descending into is the head of the West Webburn, I'm assured. Right, so we're going to go down this path here in a moment, but I'll show you. This is what's called a girt. So it's the remains of tin mining, and there's a sort of walled area over there. We're not sure what that is. Remnants of something or other. Sorry, Freddie, you're going to be in the film. Yeah. Gives it a bit of animation. This looks like a well. Oh, remains of some kind of settlement. It's to do with mining. It's a bit like, is it Wordsworth, that the ruined village, or which one? Is it Wordsworth poem, or there is a poem about a ruined village, isn't there? The Romantics. What's it called?
You need to follow him as you're walking along.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It comes from the west.
Right. Where are we going? Up here?
Yeah. We're at the side of that square field, isn't it?
What, this one?
Yeah.
Or that one?
More a square.
That looks more.
That's more like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes to the coal, you see. Not down
Yeah,
to the,
yeah.
this one's up to the birch tall.
That's up here. This has got to be another building here, isn't it? Or is it just a wall? Is it like an enclosure then?
Square.
Yeah. No apparent reason. Okay, so we're climbing back out of the valley now, and you can see the Warren House Inn where we started in the distance there. It's the road. And we think that circular area there is Bitterford Mine, where it's fenced off. So that's one of the old tin mines there. But this whole valley, you can see, is scarred by tin working. Right, we think now we can see the Stone Row at Challicum Stone Row, because it's hard to tell whether you can see this on the camera. There are some very distinct grey stones that appear to be in a line there. They seem to end with a very prominent stone there. Whether that's a part of the row or if it looks a bit more like a ruined building, doesn't it? But definitely over here, the stones there are in the right place to be, Challicum Stone Row. Okay, and the other thing that Peter's just pointed out to me is that in the distance you can make out the circular outline of Grimspound, the Bronze Age settlement, very large area there. Within that there's the remains of a lot of huts and animal pens and that kind of thing. So we're going to go to that eventually, and then up onto Hameldon Ridge. So we're just coming abreast of the Stone Row now, so you can make it out. I think it's a triple row, which is why they look a little bit sort of scattered. I think there are 3 parallel stone rows there, but we've got to find a way of getting across to them, because there's a lot of mine working, things like this are quite deep to get over. So we're going to go a little bit higher and then come back to it. And down, that's Headland Farm down there, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to eventually end up going past that on our way to Grimspound over there. But the first objective is to get to that Stone Row somehow. This gives you a good idea of the sort of girts, how the landscape's been altered by the tin mining. We're trying to get across all this now to the Stone Row, which is just over there. seems to be a path heading in the direction of the stone row, so that's what we're following. It's very conveniently going across the heads of all these trenches that have been dug, so you haven't got to go up and down a lot of ridges. But massive area of tin mining. Probably going back to the Middle Ages again. Stone that we saw from a distance does look as though it's part of the... It's certainly heading in that direction, certainly it's close to the Hameldon building. Stones aren't buried like the one last week, where you could just about make out the tops of the stones. This one is very obviously some splendid stones in these two. Distance there, you can still see the Warren House Inn. So this appears to be the end of the 3 parallel stone rows, and then there's quite a large gap until you get to that stone there, but it doesn't look like it's a natural rock. That certainly looks like it's been placed there like a veneer. So we're going to go on and just look at that next. Right, so there isn't a gap, there's just some stones missing, because we've come across a few other smaller ones here. Oh yeah, there's a bit it does look very much as though this is the sort of termination of the road here, this big stone. Apologies if there's any wind noise on this. I did mean to take up Rob James's tip. I put some foam over the microphone, but didn't get around to doing it before we went out on this walk. This has got to be placed here by people. It's obviously been bolstered to stop it from falling down at some point as well. That's birch top, I think. Yep, birch top. Pound, that circular area in the cleft over there. Right, so next objective is Grimspound in the cleft there, but we're thinking we might go up this tor in front of us here first of all to get a view down on Grimspound. just because it's there really, depending on what the ground's like up there. It doesn't look as though it's going to be too difficult, but while kind of in this angle here, just to point out that whatever Grimspound was, it wasn't a defended area, because you can see that it's right in the middle of the dip between two prominent rises, this tor here and Hameldon Ridge, and if it came under attack it would be very easy to lob missiles into it, so it wasn't a defensive settlement, probably just a large enclosure to keep animals inside at night as well as the villagers, and keep wild animals out. Right, this is Headland Farm, and we just spotted he's got some interesting beasts in his field. They're obviously llama that have recently been shorn for their wool. Yeah, and some cute ones over there. Can see that on there. Baby llamas. Over in the distance though, he's also got a big bee colony there, lots of beehives. So exploiting the heather that's growing all around here. So, in the same spot, just seen some interesting looking mushrooms. There are supposed to be a few magic mushrooms growing around in this region, but I wouldn't have a clue what they look like. This reminds me of my old history master at school, Mr. Monk, who could be seen every morning walking around on the school playing field collecting mushrooms that he would then eat for lunch. Right, I've just crossed the Challicum Brook and we're heading for that tor there. There's a useful signpost here telling us where we're going. Bridle path for a road near Grimspound, so we're going to go across that road and up the tor before we go to Grimspound. And there's another bridle path for something farm, can't read it. We've just come from the bridle path for Warren House Inn. So we're just across the road here, and we're going to try and go up this girt here, so it looks sort of fairly grassy and flat on the bottom, and this will lead us up to the top of the tor where we've spotted people, so we won't have it all to ourselves. What's this? A fireplace, a kind of ruined hut. Hopefully we'll be able to get out of it at the top. Nearly at the top. Here we are. Way over there now you can see the Warren House Inn. about make out the entrance to the compound is on the sort of, that's the west side there, leading up onto Hameldon Ridge. There's a small stream called Grim Lake. Lakes on Dartmoor actually mean rivers or streams. It actually cuts through a tiny part of the compound. It flows down towards the Webburn. Here we are, so this is the outer boundary of Grimspound, the walls. There's always people around. It's very just uphill, there's a road and you can easily park your car. It's only 2 miles away as well, so sort of walkers pass by it while they're out walking on the moor. We'll go inside and take a look at some of the huts and pens. Small dwellings. So typical meaning ones that he based out of Baskervilles, obviously is based in Dartmoor. This is Grimspound. And supposedly returns to London, but in fact he's camping out on the moor, keeping an eye on Baskerville Hall. And Conan Doyle got the idea that he made his residence in a Bronze Age remain something like this, rather than in a cave, as it's often portrayed on films and the television when you see dramatisations of the Hound of the Baskervilles, because there aren't really any caves like that on Dartmoor that are suitable for a dwelling, but there are plenty of these prehistoric Bronze Age dwelling places remaining, and as you can see a lot of them are still almost suitable for putting a bit of canvas over the top and living in still. Around 20 of them inside this compound. There's the gate over there, main entrance. The only entrance, I think. I think I've seen, oh no, there's another one over there by the look of it. There's certainly a path going through that way. This one has got some chicane to get into, so presumably very narrow kind of right angle entrance to it. Presumably to stop animals going into the kitchen. This is interesting. A bit further on, up at the top of Hameldon Down, there's an area where is making a glider landing on the top there. It's a very large, easily defended area. And they put up a lot of posts as anti-glider defences. And this does look very much like someone's tried to make a campfire out of. So over the years they've slowly been pushed over by cattle rubbing themselves against them, and they've deteriorated in the weather, and now most of them are just like remnants. This one looks like it's been carried down from there, which is a bit of a shame. It's still remaining, but we're lucky to see scenery today. Close to the gate here now. This gate always reminds me a little bit of if you've ever been to Greece, to Mykonos, to Lion Gate there. I mean, obviously nowhere near as well preserved, but it's got similar kind of width, and the stones are of a similar kind of size, and same kind of period as well, Bronze Age construction. So Agamemnon and the Trojan War probably going on about the same time as this was being lifted. So there we are, that's Grimspound anyway. Next up we're going to climb up here with Hameldon Beacon, and probably sit down and have some feet up. Nearly at the top of, there's some Grimspound down there, nearly at the top of the ridge, and it'll be a fairly flat walk along it for a few miles from now, but just at the top here you can see a trigonometry point, a trig point, which for those of you who don't live in the UK is where the Ordnance Survey position these points at strategic spots around the countryside in order to take bearings and measurements and so on to map the entire countryside out. So most of them got very distinct, I think they were put up in the 1930s, something like that, and there should, on the top of it, there should be some kind of plate to position the instrumentation on. Let's see a bit better. Someone's made a cairn of rocks as they go past, which is probably not a good idea, because those stones must have come from something. They probably came from a prehistoric cairn or something like that. They've just been slowly repositioned over the years, and it's actually sort of vandalism with the original site, even though it is nice to mark your journey as you go along. Anyway, here's the trig point. Yeah, and it's got some theodolite or whatever it is they use. glider, one of the sole remaining glider defences that I was talking about earlier. Can't make it out in the sunlight on the screen, but it's in there somewhere. I'm sure I must have panned past it by now. So this is the area where they feared a glider landing might take place, and you can see how, other than the fact that it had to have been resupplied by air, it's a sort of natural fortress up here. Very difficult to get any Germans off of here if they were to land, but such was the invasion scare during the Second World War, and they thought they might even come this way. I can make a town out. Is that Morton Hampstead over there?
Yeah, I'll have to check. Morton Hampstead probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, we reckon, Morton Hampstead, which is on the sort of road between Tavistock and Exeter. And a lot of rural pasture land or whatever over there. Oh, the sort of more dropper over here with the weather. Weather's changing a little bit. Anyway, on we go. What I think is Hameldon Cross, which is the remains of a medieval cross that was probably put here somewhere in this area to kind of Christianise the area, because there's a lot of pre-Christian remains here. The cross itself has been moved to form a boundary stone, and if I've got this right, on it there should be some inscription stating the date that it was moved. Right, here it is. It's just starting to rain a little bit, so I might get a little bit of rain on the lens. But if there is an inscription on that, I can't see it. But you can make out, well, this is one arm of the cross here, and the other one has broken off long ago. But it was moved here to mark the boundary of the Duke of Somerset's territory in 1854, I think. But no way of really reading anything on that any longer. But this is Hameldon Cross. Caterpillar there. Not sure what species, but living a fairly rugged existence up here in late September. Right, we've come to a Bronze Age burial mound here. On top of it, I think there's probably going to be another boundary stone. I don't identify which barrow it is. Just in the distance there, Peter's spotted a place sticking up. There's another one of the glider place. I think somewhere on top here there's a boundary stone, if I remember correctly, last time I was here. Yeah, here it is. Close to this. It says Broad Barrows. This is Broad Barrow. Maybe on the other side of it. 1854, DS stands for the Duke of Somerset, and 1854. And just over there, another post. Again, I'm not sure if I'm showing that in the screen. It's very difficult to see where I'm pointing the camera in this light. But most of the posts now have fallen over, they've been pushed over by cattle and deteriorated. But as I say, at one time this whole area was like a forest of them. And both this barrow and the other one, which I think is a little bit further on, which is called Two Barrows, there's quite a few posts there. Two Barrows in the distance there. Both being excavated. They found remains in this one. And in the other one they actually found a bronze dagger with a amber hilt, which is very significant. Unfortunately, that was released in Plymouth's museum and was lost during the Second World War when Plymouth was bombed to oblivion, really. So it was lost in the Second World War. There's only photographs and illustrations of it left now. Okay, so a few posts here. Some of these posts look as if they're on a path, so they've been moved from their original positions to access sort of circles. The Two Wars Way, but I'm pretty sure that thing we saw at Grimspan is one of them because it's exactly the same width and from the top. You can see a few, you can see three at least over there. But as I say, one time this whole area was covered in them. Okay, there's another Bronze Age barrow here, another Duke of Somerset's boundary stones on top of it. This one again should identify the barrow. Yeah, this is Two Barrows. So this is the site where we found the Bronze Age dagger with the amber hilt. Again on the back of this, DS 8, I think that says 1854. Should be the same date as the other one, but DS is definitely Duke of Somerset anyway. And presumably there are two barrows here. If this is one, it's another. They're two and they've just merged into one over the years. We still haven't stopped for lunch yet, but we're going to try and find some shelter. It's turning a bit windy and blowy. So inside this wall here. Looks like another barrow on the other side of the wall there. But as I said about the cross, this whole area is just littered with Bronze Age remains. And probably the cross was put here to give it a little bit of sort of Christian sanctity, convert the area if you will, and then it got moved to act as one of the boundary stones. But it doesn't look like it's worth exploring that one, does it? So we're going to carry on to try and find a place to sit and have our meal beneath this wall. Right, so we just had our lunch in the lee of this wall here. Wind's easing off a little bit now. Sun's come out again, and we're just going to go up to the end of the wall here where you can see another stone, and that is Hameldon Beacon. So the mound is a Bronze Age cairn, and the stone I think is just another boundary stone, I'm not sure, but it will have an inscription on it which we can read in a minute. So this is Hameldon Beacon, Bronze Age. A moment ago I thought I could read this, but let's see. That's another DS 1854. Duke of Somerset 1854. Can't make out what it says on this side here. Oh, it says Hameldon Beacon. I can see the C-O-N now. So it just tells you Hameldon Beacon. And nice enough to see the views. Got Haytor, Houndtor, just go across to the down there somewhere is a memorial to the crash, the victims of an airplane crash in the Second World War, bomber that crashed into the hillside. So we're going to go and try and find that next. We'll have to go back along this path for a while. Right, now we're just trying to find a couple of boundary stones. First one we come across should be called the Grey Wither, and the next one is called the Blue Jug. Seen it? Ah, right. This could well be it. Yeah, this looks like it. So, Grey Wither. A wither is a castrated ram, and there are a number of grey withers on Dartmoor. But the reference is to them being mistaken for dead sheep or sheep, rams. Yeah, so this is the first, and this should have a similar, what's this say? Yeah, it's actually got Grey Wither written on it, look. So use the identification, so it should have DS again, yeah, Duke of Somerset, 1854. Right, so this is the boundary of his land, and then a bit further on, about 200 yards, it said in the guidebook I've been reading, there should be another one called the Blue Jug somewhere. Right, we think we've just spotted the other one just down here. So there's nothing terribly remarkable about these. They're only boundary stones, they're not very old, 1850s. But they make objective points on walks. I don't know whether you can see it on the camera yet. Let's go into it now. Yeah, it's got to be it, I think. Yeah, scratchy. It's in a bit of a island all the way across all this. Not sinking too much into it. Ugh. DS, Somerset. Yeah, blue jug. Right, so now we've left the blue jug boundary stone and we're walking down the valley of the East Webburn, which just cut quite a deep channel already. It's just in that little wet area of ground that we were jumping about in a minute ago. It's cut this really quite steep valley here, and that's going to take us down to the area where this crash site is in. So this seems to be a fairly well worn path that we're following, so we're going to carry on down here for a while, and we're going to hopefully end up close to where those trees are down there. A bit further down here, closer to the tree line there, we're expecting to meet another path, or a path, not another path. This is not really what you call a path. And then, by turning left, it should bring us very close to the site of this memorial. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we find it. Lovely evening. The sun's come out again. Blue sky. Right, well we just reached the point where we've reached another path. So we're going to turn left up here. And according to the guidebooks, the memorial is up off on the left up there, but I seem to remember having this problem once before, that it's very hard to spot until you're almost right on top of it. We don't want to walk sort of past it, but I think it's got to be this way. It's in here somewhere. We're just not quite sure where. Very long-horned cattle lurking in the undergrowth here. Look at that. Don't want to get too close to him. We've split up again to spread our search area, but other than a lot of very fine horses and ponies, I haven't come across anything yet. Pieces off to my right. lost in all this undergrowth, which I think is unlikely, because you often see poppies and things placed on it, so it has to be somewhere where the grass is well trodden. Horse is wondering who I'm talking to, I think. He's looking very bemused by me. Someone else in orange down there, so another walker. Cloudy weather coming this way again. Ah, Peter? It's over there. That's it there. Right, here we are. So, I may not be able to make out on here too well. Basically this commemorates the crash site of a Hameldon bomber that was flying back from France, and dates at the bottom there, 21st of March 1941. So it crashed in the dark on this hillside, and 18 and 49 I think refer to the RAF squadron. Then you got a whole series of initials. PDW was the pilot, his name was Wilson, and it was his mother that had this stone erected. And then CJL, I think Lion, PB was Brain, and so RLAE, E stood for Ellis, so they were the names of the four pilots. And according to something I just read, it says 21st of March 41 there, but on the reverse there's another bronze plaque which has got the date as the 22nd of March. Royal Air Force bomber 49 Squadron Scampton crashed returning from operations over France. The 4 crews were lost. This memorial bears their initials and squadron number, commemorating their selfless courage and that of fellow airmen who perished on Dartmoor 1939 to 45. Their sacrifice helped us to maintain freedom. This was put up by the Aircrew Association in 1991. So probably that discrepancy in the date is it must have been the night of the 21st to the 22nd of March. The crash actually happened around, I think, 10:40 on the 21st. But the reference to the other crashes, there were a lot of airplane that came down in the war on Dartmoor because of the number of air bases and so on that were situated around it. But this particular crew were trying to make their way all the way back across country to Lincoln. And they came in, found the English coast, turned right and then flew into this high ground. So obviously everything was in darkness. And I think they probably miscalculated exactly where they'd hit the English coastline. Thought they were further east than this. So anyway, that's the story of that. Making our way back now, but we just crossed through Grimspound again. Half an hour from the memorial, there's one, comes back, cuts through Grimspound. So we're going to just head back down to the road and back towards Warren House, which is way in the distance over there now. Yeah, I just stopped to take a picture here because this is a fairly obvious course of the Grim Lake. So lake just means stream, but this is the little stream that flows through Grimspound, literally cuts through it. And we're just going downhill now, and it's flowing a little bit more freely here. So crossing over the sort of stone bridge here. Just on our way back now then, just gone past Headland Farm on the way back. But heading into the sun now, so I can't show you many pictures in the direction we're travelling. I just thought I'd take another shot because Peter's very keen on evening walking, and the light is certainly very attractive at this time of night. It's just the risk of running out of daylight before you get back to the car that I don't like. But it certainly is a lovely time of day, when the weather's nice.
Can you see that gully there, Kurt?
Yeah. I want you extolling the virtues of an evening Dartmoor.
Yeah.
It is lovely. Very peaceful. You just walk past it. Huh? We're grazing it out so I can be gored by, if you can see me, its fringe. Right, here we are, back at the Winehouse Inn. The sun is just going down over the horizon there. That's it, end of another walk.